Alright, so my brother and I bought a Caterpillar D4D from Michigan, sight unseen. Basically, we had it delivered to the house, and when they showed up was the first time we saw it. But we had already agreed to buy it before they brought it, so. It was a ran when parked situation. The undercarriage is close to new. It had the bushings turned on the track chain, and every other part was either replaced or just in good condition. Everything on it, every roller, the idler, the chains themselves, all have a ton of life in them. So that's what we bought, and the engine's stuck and we got to free it up. So that's what we're working on now. So I was originally thinking this was going to be one video, but the footage I'm at right now is already over 6 hours of edited footage. So obviously I'm not putting out a 6-hour video. So we're going to split this up into parts. I think I'm going to aim for around 40 minutes per video. All right, so there's the machine. It's up on top of a pile of rocks. Got the backhoe behind it, just in case it wanted to roll back off the hill. I don't want to roll on the way down the hill and crash into stuff. We tried to turn the engine over, and there's a pile of dirt. There's a pile of dirt frozen to the pulley in there. So the engine won't turn because it's frozen solid, so we got to get that out. Radiator's got nothing in it, but it doesn't look like it's messed up at all. It might leak, I don't know. I don't know why it would be empty if it didn't leak. Alright, it's been like 2 weeks. We got the dirt off the front of the motor, but it didn't spin still. So Tom took the injectors out. We just took them back out again, but he took the injectors out and put ATF in the cylinders, because probably the ring, it feels like the rings are stuck. The motor will move a little bit each way, but only a tiny bit, so the rings are probably stuck. Took the drive shaft off. There's a drive shaft between the engine and transmission. We took that off so that we're not fighting anything back here trying to turn the motor. We got all the controls freed up in this, except for this is still frozen, but that's just a shaft in here that we can take off and clean in a little bit. So now we're just going to try to see if the motor will turn. As soon as we can get a turn in, then we can try to get it started. The air cleaner was not clean. So I'm going to try to bar over the engine. I don't expect that to work. And then we're probably going to try to bump it with the starter. And that may or may not work. And if we can't do any of that, we'll just have to put a bar on the front of the motor, on the back of the motor, and on the flywheel all at once and try to bar it over. And hopefully it'll free up and we won't break the rings in the process. It's pretty stuck. Oh. It wiggles just like it did.
Yeah. You see which side the engine's trying to turn to? Yeah, it looks like it's turning.
Do we have a ratchet? Try it. the motor still won't turn. We tried making a bar here that goes on the where the drive shaft would go, and putting a wrench on it and working back and forth, and we can't get it to turn. Tried bumping it with the starter, won't turn. And we also had a bar on the front on the bolt on the front of the crankshaft, and that still, we couldn't get it to turn. So now we're planning, we have all the injectors out. We know this is a cylinder that's not moving, cylinder number 2. Basically, I just stuck a screwdriver down in there. You can feel the top of the top of the piston, and then Tom was cranking it over, and I could feel which one didn't move, and that one did not move. So we got the valve cover off, and we got to make sure that these valves are both closed, so we're probably going to have to just adjust these out so that the valves are closed. And then we're going to pump oil into this with this pump here. So Tom's in the shop right now cutting the ends off a JIC fitting so we can stick it down in there in the injector hole. Alright, I decided I wanted to use this little sketch of an engine to explain what it is we're really trying to do here to break this engine free. So, just naming of things to start with. Here's your piston. You have a connecting rod, crankshaft, camshaft, lifter, push rod, rocker or rocker arm, valve. This is the valve here, and then valve spring. And this is the head on top, and the cylinder walls are here, so that these continue all the way around. But I'm showing you like a cutaway here, so you're just seeing the 2 walls. And then here's an injector port. On a diesel engine, this would be an injector port, and on a gas engine, you would have a spark plug or something. There's always something that gets you, that you can easily gain access to the combustion chamber from the outside of the engine. Alright, so we're in a diesel engine, so this is an injector port for us. And to be more precise, I should have drawn this as an injector port that goes into a pre-combustion chamber and then into the main combustion chamber, because that's how the engine that we're actually working on in this video, that's how it's set up. But to simplify things, I just drew it as direct injection here. It doesn't matter one way or the other. If you put anything in this injector port, it's going to get to the combustion chamber eventually. So that's the important thing. Alright, so why is the engine stuck that we have? These here are the piston rings. I don't think I mentioned those yet. When an engine sits for a long time, the piston rings will rust, and they'll rust right to the walls of the cylinder, and the engine won't move anymore. So that's usually, if you have a stuck engine, that's how you got a stuck engine, is the piston rings rusted to the walls of the cylinder. So that's a situation that we have, and we're trying to break the engine free. The first thing we tried to do was put a wrench on the end of the crankshaft and just try to turn the crankshaft, which would push the piston up and down if you could turn it. So if you put a big wrench on the crankshaft and you torque on it real hard, sometimes you can break the rings free. That didn't work for us. So then the next thing we did is we took out the injectors, and then we put in ATF in the top of the cylinder, automatic transmission fluid, and that the hope was that that would help break up the rust. And then we came back 2 weeks later and put a wrench on the crank again, and tried to bar it over, and it still didn't move. And then we also tried bumping it with the starter, and the starter does the same thing. It turns the crankshaft. That didn't work. None of those things worked. It's still stuck. So the next angle that we want to attack it from is to try to use hydraulics to push the piston down. And the way we would do that is pump oil into the injector port under pressure, and then get pressure built up in the combustion chamber that will push on the piston and break it free. Now that'll only work if your valves are closed. So these valves here have to be closed. If you don't know, engines have exhaust and intake valves. Here I'm only showing one valve, but you'll have at least two per cylinder. One for exhaust, one for intake, or possibly more than that. But on simple engines, it's usually just one exhaust, one intake. Anyway, both the exhaust and the intake valve on the cylinder you're trying to build pressure in have to be closed in order for this to work. Normally, you could just turn the engine, and that would turn the camshaft, which would allow the push rod to lower, which would allow the lifter on this end to raise, which would allow the valve to close. So these springs would pull the valve back closed as long as you don't have pressure on the top from the rocker arms. Also, one thing I didn't mention, on this particular engine that we're working on, there's an adjustment here for adjusting your valves. That doesn't exist on every engine. Most modern gasoline engines will not have that. I don't think modern diesels do either. Adjustment screws like this, though, are very common on older engines, where you would adjust the lash in here. You just put what you do in that case is you just put a feeler gauge in here, and then you adjust this until the feeler gauge is tight. And you do that while the valves are closed. And that'll give you the right amount of gap here in between your rocker arm and your valve. Anyway, we want to take advantage of this adjustment and adjust them all the way out to try to get the rocker arm to release all of its pressure off of the valve so that the valve closes. If that doesn't work, the only other option is take off the rocker arms entirely, and then once the rocker arms are off, the valves will be closed because they'll have nothing holding them open anymore. So that's what we got to do now. We got to get the valves closed, and we got to make something that we can screw into this injector port so that we can hook a pump up to it to pump oil into here to build pressure to break the engine free. So we figured out that we have a JIC fitting that the threads will work on, but we have to cut the you got to cut it down so that we can get it in far enough to actually engage the threads in the block. So Tom's just cutting on the lathe here. So yeah, so there used to be a hex thing right here, so you could put a wrench on it and turn it. But Tom just cut that down. So these are the threads we're using. We got to be able to get those far enough into the head that we can put a washer and gonna put a washer and a O-ring up here to seal it against the cylinder head, and then we can pump the oil in. A lot of people say to use grease, but we don't want to pump grease into the cylinders and then have to clean all the grease out of the cylinders, because the only easy way to clean the grease out is to take the head off, and the whole point of this is to avoid taking the head off.
Close enough.
Are you going to try and take the whole muffler off?
We just need the clamp out of the way so we can get...
I've never seen a clamp come apart.
I've gotten them apart before.
They always twist off. Especially one that looks like that.
Now we should have enough room.
And probably pull this thing. Well, we could leave it on for now.
Yeah.
We'll just won't put the clamp back on because we're going to want to put a new muffler on it anyway.
It looks like we should... What does the other end look like? Is that big and bulky?
Yes.
Yeah.
So big, it goes
No,
inside.
it's not so much bigger. That should work, right?
If I have to, we'll take the I'll take that muffler off. It'll give us an extra like 1/16 of an inch.
Yeah.
Takes forever to get in there is a problem.
Don't go crazy. It's just an O-ring you're compressing.
Yeah. So is it down?
And so, if you go too far, you're just going to extrude the O-ring.
Right.
Ah.
Hold it. Hold the nut.
I just take the whole thing.
Yeah.
Let the whole thing go.
And
Yeah.
then here. 2, half, 3, half, 4.
Did that move?
Rocker arm's loose. I mean, these valves might already be up. I think this one's compressed though. This one's not.
The second one's definitely compressed.
One. Well, half one, half 2, half 3, half 4. Yeah. No.
We're down.
So you're gonna have to loosen that head bolt.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna have to loosen all 4 head bolts
Yeah.
that are on the valve train.
We're loose.
Valves up.
Yeah. It's gotta be.
All right.
Now you just pump this away. Probably keep dumping oil in there. See what happens.
It's getting any resistance.
Nope.
Or if it's just pushing it right past the rings.
At some point it'll start coming out of the muffler.
Well, you'd be pushing it past the rings into the crankcase.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think it would go past the rings that easy though. Like you think you would have at least some resistance. You wouldn't feel any different at all.
No.
I mean, we have 4 head bolts out.
Yeah, just keep taking the head off.
20 more to go.
What else has to come off? The intake?
Just this. That's it.
No. Can I get the plug for this? So I don't have to hold it. It's in the pan.
All right, so that didn't work for us. And the reason that probably didn't work, the most likely reason is that there's just too much rust in between the valve seat here and the valves, so that when even when the valves were closed, there was still a little bit of gap here where oil could leak through, and it was probably just leaking out the valves anyway, even though we had them closed. We could try to clean this up. There's a few different ways you can do that without taking the head off, but we decided it'll just be easier just to take the head off at this point. We're not making any progress trying to hydraulically press these down. The other thing that could be happening is that the rings are in such bad condition that they no longer make a seal on the walls of the cylinder at all. So when we pump in oil, it just leaks past the rings into the crankcase. That could be happening. We're not really sure. A good way to check that would be just, if you could take the oil pan off, just take the oil pan off and then you'll know if it's leaking past. Or you can just mark the level on the dipstick and just see if it's going up. If it's going up, you know you're adding oil to the crankcase. So anyway, yeah, our hydraulic trick didn't work. I don't know, maybe you have to use grease for this to work. I don't know. I've never had it work for me, but we're just gonna take the head off now. We already got some of the bolts out of the head already anyway, and we got most of the stuff off the top of the head. So at this point, we're just going to take the head off, and then we can get in there and see what's wrong with the cylinder.
What is it? This one.
All right, well, turns out we definitely should have pulled the head off this morning instead of even trying to free it up, because it was so rusty in that cylinder number 2 that there's no way we would have been able to move it. Did you move it?
No.
They're just beating on it with a piece of wood.
Witness mark on there, and we'll tell if we move it.
Well, you're also going to be fighting the
other one's jiggle.
Yeah, everything moves except that one.
Which way's down? Go one way.
Pulling to me.
I'm not moving at all.
If I go the other way.
Yeah. Go
It should
back
be doing
and
the
forth.
same. It should be doing the same thing as number 4.
Here's number 4.
So go back the other way. No, the other way. Going up. Now go the other way. Going down. That's the way we want to go.
Forward is down.
What if I put a porta power against this?
These are push rods. They're not all that pretty. That one's a little crusty, but I think they'll be okay. Got the injectors, head bolts, valve cover. There's a valve, the rocker arm assembly. So I would say we probably need a new filter. There's no pleating even in this anymore. It all fell to one side. So this is going to be a lot of work to get this. So we're just going to put in a new liner. The nice thing about these engines is each cylinder just is a liner, and you can pull the cylinder liner right out and put in a new one. So we're just going to replace that cylinder liner while the rest of them are fine. And then after that, it should be good to run. Problem is, the way you're supposed to pull the liners out is you put a pulling tool on and pull them up from the bottom. In order to do that, you got to put the tool through the cylinder, and you can't have a piston in it. So we got to get that piston out. One way or the other, that piston's got to come out of there. I mean, realistically, if...
Hey, you push unhook the rod and take the rod out with it.
I mean, realistically, we could just drill a hole in the piston and put the pulling tool straight through it if we had to.
Are there any retainers, or is the it's just the head that keeps
It keeps what on?
the liner in?
I believe it's just a head. I'll look at the book. I didn't grab a hammer. But we gotta take the belly pan off, because you gotta you take the belly pan off, then you can take the pan off the engine and get to everything from underneath. I don't even think we have to touch any of the other rods or anything.
Just whack on there with a sledgehammer.
That's why he's going to get a sledgehammer.
It's moving. You're coming up. Number 4 is coming up. You want me to go backwards?
Shouldn't it be going down if number 4?
Number 4 is coming up.
Yeah, we're definitely moving. Yeah, I guess it's the same. It must be
outside are the same, insider. Yeah.
Well, you mean might be the bottom. Oh no, because you're still coming up.
Yeah, these would have to come all the way up.
What can you?
I think you got to go down a lot.
Well, put more penetrant in there. Just keep spraying it. It ain't gonna hurt anything. I mean, you're still in the middle of your travel. You got...
You want to try coming back up?
The thing is, if we can't get the cylinder to come out the top, oh yeah, it's gone.
Okay. Now if we just rock it back and forth that way, if that's possible.
Here, I'll help you on the front. Here.
There's a pipe over there somewhere.
I've got the plate
Oh,
out.
you got the pipe.
Yeah, but I ain't got no.
Which way are you trying to go?
Oh, I can do it here now. I got it.
If you go down more, then we can scrape. No, okay, keep it down and then stop at the bottom of the trail so we can scrape. Let's use a file. Oh my god.
Huh?
It's like a 60 thou
Hole score.
Oh no, it's where it's rusted in.
Yeah, it needs a new liner.
Yeah.
Probably keep trying to go down then. I just stopped because I hit the dash here.
Yeah, I mean, if you can go all the way to the bottom, stroke.
Wait a minute. The you might even be getting held up by this other end here.
Need the socket.
Yeah, but the there's a breaker bar on it.
Pull that right out of there. It's tight there. It's tight there.
I mean, you're moving it further down. I'm getting new scale each time you move it. You know, you're gaining both directions, it seems like. You just gained another 1/8 of an inch.
We go again?
Yeah, just keep doing that. There you go. Yeah, you're gaining.
Come back up.
Yeah.
I might be able to come up.
Try that.
You're definitely up a lot higher than.
Yeah.
So I should go the other way?
You can try going all the way around.
You can try all the way around. I mean, you're way past where we were when we started.
Yeah, well, I don't have the angle here to do that.
I mean, you can use the clutch.
It's kind of free now.
Where it was, you know. I think go all the way around and it'll.
Yeah, well, I gotta get the clutch here. What do we got? Just knock it out.
Forward, yeah, that's it.
Slam it.
I don't have to do that.
No, as long as it's slammed back over center, you should be okay.
You're getting to the point where it's almost there. You're gaining. Every time you go, it's farther. It's almost about to come around again.
Yeah, we're gonna clean more up before you come all the way up though. Where's the
It's all over there, I think. Should I go down?
Yeah, keep going. Keep trying to go down.
You're at the bottom of the stroke. It should come right around now. I can turn this and get a little more, because I only need a little more, right? Yeah, you're at the bottom right now. I mean, 1 and 4 are top dead center. Yep, I'm starting. It's it.
Yeah, try coming around. I mean, I think I got it reasonably clean.
It's it, top dead center, right?
Yep.
It would probably run.
Yeah, I mean, it probably, yeah, would run. It would probably leak and burn crazy amount of oil. I mean, it's deep. I mean, it would probably also just run in 3 cylinders. You just block the 2 valves off and or leave them wide open and take the injector off that one.
Yeah. I read where a guy ran a D8 like that. He took the rod off, took the piston right out,
Yeah.
and then he put a beer can on the rod journal and tightened it up with
Oh, they keep the oils.
clamps. Yeah, so the oil stayed. And then they ran the machine like that the rest of the summer.
Those also are 6 cylinders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the pistons are the same.
It depends. These engines are.
At one time it was the same piston, they just added 2 more cylinders for a D6.
Yeah. That's.
It was the same
I think that's the older.
bore and
Is the
stroke.
when these became the 3304s, and then you could get a 3306. You know, those are the same. This is a weird. This is a intermediate engine between a 3204 and a 3304.
This doesn't have a turbo though.
Nope. I think you could get them with turbos. Maybe not this particular engine.
I took them out of the internet, or is it keys?
Huh. Injector pump works.
Squirts?
Yeah. You might be able to build engine oil pressure.
Huh?
I said I might be able to build oil pressure. Probably shouldn't with what's in there.
Alright, so we got the motor freed up, so I'm going to end this episode here. On the next one, we'll pull the oil pan out, change the oil in it, and see what else we need to do to get the engine in working condition, essentially. So we're just going to keep rolling through and finding out what else is wrong with the machine and fixing it as we find problems. So hopefully you find that entertaining. Stay tuned for the next one. It'll be out soon.